Commissioner Targ, Commissioner Morse,
Here.
Commissioner Vatra,
Here.
Vice Chair Krasinski is absent, Chair Brothers. We have a
Present.
quorum.
Thank you. The first thing we typically do is have an opportunity for public comment if anyone wants to speak on a topic that is not on our agenda tonight. Seeing no hands in the room, are there any hands online?
None online.
Everybody's here to talk about tonight. Okay, we will close oral communications and take up the first order of business, which is a public hearing on the application for an occasional event permit under the conditional use permit at the Priory. I believe we will have a staff presentation followed by a presentation by the applicant. At that point, I will open it to public comment. No, after that, I'm going to let the commissioners ask questions. I've asked them to do their best to ask simple, straightforward questions rather than engage in debate. Of course, we're all prone to do. And then I'll have public comment, and then we will feel free to engage in whatever debate or other conversation we have relevant to the topic. With that, Shara, how would you like to proceed with the town work?
We'll have Nick Martell, Senior Planner, give that presentation. I'll let him introduce himself.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. As Sarah said, my name is Nick Martell. I'm a Senior Planner representing the town of Portola Valley, and I'm giving a presentation tonight about the Woodside Priory occasional event. So a little bit of background about the application and the overview. So this is an applicant, the Priory School. It's a private college preparatory school for grades 6 through 12, which was established in 1957. And this is governed under the occasional use permit under condition 19 of the existing conditional use permit, as amended most recently in 2025. The proposed use that we're presenting on tonight is a single evening community celebration featuring youth and high school football games, local food vendors, family activities, and entertainment. The event application must conform to several aspects of the conditional use permit, including dates, duration, facilities, attendance, parking, traffic management, and noise control. And it must be heard at a duly noted public hearing, which is why we're here for you today. A few event details. So this is proposed to take place Friday, October 9th, no earlier than 4 p.m. and no later than 10 p.m. All attendees off campus by 10:30 p.m. This would be located at Woodside Priory School at 302 Portola Road. Some of the activities, like I just mentioned, were a series of football games and then some family activities. The anticipated vehicles are no more than 294, which is established in the conditional use permit as the limit allowed on campus. And then some lighting is proposed, which I'll get into a little bit later in more detail. Some temporary lighting for the game, which would happen after sunset. So Woodside Priory proposes a middle school flag football game, a high school girls flag football game, high school boys football game, and then a community celebration, as I mentioned earlier. As part of the application, there were several aspects of this plan that they brought forward to staff. Some of that is related to noise, location, the employees involved, and then a parking plan. And in your attachments, you'll see some additional information, which is a lighting plan, a site plan, a light spill analysis, a fire access plan, and then we have an updated dark sky lighting plan that was provided to us by Priory earlier this week that I will show you a couple of exhibits on. As far as the proposal goes, the first few things that we covered were fire, sheriff coordination, and noise. So with fire, Woodside Priory is coordinating with Woodside Fire Protection District, including plan review and fire management, ensuring all those things are covered related to fire safety. The second is Woodside is also coordinating with the Sheriff's Department to maintain traffic and parking and security. The other is noise, being that there will be amplified sound limited to PA announcements for the game, logistics, safety, and a school pep band with no amplified music per the conditional use permit. And then additionally, there will be normal crowd noise associated with the sporting event, all outdoor. In terms of the parking and a couple of the other aspects that we just talked about, we coordinated among Woodside Priory staff, Woodside Fire Protection District, and San Mateo Sheriff's Office. They are contracting Precision Parking for parking control, which is a vendor that assists with all Woodside Priory parking events. For parking attendants supported by 2 school employees that will be there at the beginning of the event and after the event to help people, to help guide traffic and ensure safety. And like I said, this accommodates 294 cars for the conditional use permit. And then staff will be there throughout the week. One exhibit regarding the lighting plan proposed. This is part of the updated lighting plan that we received earlier this week. One of these is the initial horizontal foot candle count, or essentially how many lumens per square foot. As you can kind of see on the exhibit, the 4 red dots are where the proposed temporary lighting would go. And you can kind of see on the field which parts of the field would be a little bit more illuminated. And this is all in the packet that we provided for you.
Nick, can you clarify, you said it was received this week. So is it in our packet that was disseminated last
Correct.
Friday or not?
It was. So we updated it earlier this week as well. It should be attachment 4, I believe.
I'll clarify that it was sent to Planning Commission today. So we received it recently this week and then the updated attachment, but I'll clarify that it didn't change any of staff's position recommendation. So it's included as attachment, and we're clarifying this because there wasn't as much time to do a full-on analysis. So that's why Nick is covering some of this right now to make sure that we have an understanding of this additional attachment.
Thank you.
Just as a point of clarification, if we didn't see the packet from today, this would be the first time that we're seeing this.
Correct.
Can you, through the chair, can you please, Nicholas, great name, identify what's changed from what we're seeing? For example,
Yes.
previously it stated that there would be 5 light stands. It looks like there are 4 here. So if you can take us through the modifications, assuming that we're familiar with the prior. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioners. Great question.
Let me ask a related question. I'm sorry, because you sent something to me early this week, Patrick. Is that what this document is? But it wasn't distributed to the rest of the commission, so I did not review it, and I sent it to Sarah. So that's just the way it is. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the clarification. So, thank you. Yeah, addressing Commissioner Targ's comment. If you were to look at the older version of this exhibit, the initial horizontal foot candle, just something I learned this week, would have been a little bit larger, more lumens per square foot, and then there would have been an extra lighting stand proposed. So this is a little bit less light, and then it's less spread out, or more spread out because of the absence of one of the lights. Thank you. The lighting plan proposal, the applicant proposes a temporary dark sky portable lighting supplied by Musco Sports Lighting for games occurring after sunset. So these would be turned on after sunset or once the sun started going down. Fixtures would be aimed and shielded downward toward the field to limit glare and offsite spillage and dim to 50% output. That's another of those differences than that it would occur with this rather than the other one. And then lights would be on no earlier than 6 p.m. and off promptly by 10 p.m., including post-game cleanup. And this is the lighting proposal portion from Priory. Just a little bit of background about where the field is if you're not familiar with Woodside Priory. So the field is down there close to Portola Road. You can kind of see the site plan over here that shows that. One of the other exhibits that were provided to us is a light spill analysis. So how much does the light encroach into other areas of the school? So as you can see, it's a little tough to see on this map, but you can kind of see the numbers going around the field. Those numbers indicate the light spill that continues to creep on outside of the arena, which are pretty low here. One of the other proposals, it's a fire access plan. So essentially, I'm just showing you here that they have sufficient room for a fire truck and that they would not be obstructing any fire access safety ways. Getting to some of the site analysis or some of the staff analysis about the proposal that was provided to us regarding the noise. We are asking that they show compliance with the CUP. There are some noise standards, which I'll get into, that they would have to show us once the event is completed. And then there's some noise standards that they have shown us in advance that do comply according to staff. The location is allowed, the Woodside Priory is allowed to have an occasional event, so that complies. The parking would not exceed 294 vehicles parked, which would comply with a condition number 5, which I'll get into. The lighting, staff find out of compliance with conditions 1 and 2, which I will also get into. And then the fire access and traffic management would be a conditional on condition number 3. So starting at the beginning in staff analysis, parking, fire access, and sheriff coordination, this would be subject to conditions 3, 4, and 5, which I will show you very shortly. Traffic and parking would be limited to the 294, and then staff recommend written approval from WFPD and the Sheriff's Department before going forward. Our analysis on noise. Noise proposed PA PEP band only approach is consistent with the CUP's noise regulations. Noise monitoring, reporting, and compliance in consultation with the subcommittee of the Planning Commission. And then noise monitoring per 8A, 8C, and 8D of the conditional use permit. So getting into the bigger question here is the temporary field lighting. So I have a little bit more information than some of the other ones. Some of the applicable standards that staff looked at were from the Portola Valley Municipal Code, which is code 18.36.040 regarding outdoor lighting. And then of course, the conditional use permit itself, particularly condition 11. The town lumen limit per code is 1,125 lumens maximum per fixture. The proposed fixtures from Woodside Priory would exceed that. Town code limitations include outdoor recreation, game, court lighting prohibitions, and then flood lighting prohibitions, in addition to some dark sky provisions as well. CUP condition 11 explicitly states that there shall be no night lighting on athletic fields also. So our staff finding is that the lighting proposal is not compliant with town code related to lighting prohibitions and lumen limitations. Our recommended condition is to remove the proposed lighting or revise it to comply with town code as a condition of approval. Per CEQA, we are applying for an exemption, 15323, which is a normal operations of facilities for public gatherings. That would also be conditional on conformance with our other conditions staff. We got quite a bit of public feedback when we posted these materials. So staff received public comment from several members of the community. We had some supporters, which typically cited bringing together families and student athletes from Priory and neighboring schools for a single carefully limited evening. Was a positive for the community. So we had some conditionally supportive recommendations that said that they were in favor of the celebration, but also wanted to uphold some town's dark sky ordinances and deny the lighting. And then we had some feedback that were against the proposal, citing request conflicts with Priory's existing CUP condition 11, and then the town's lighting, CEQA rules, and warned it would set a precedent for future exceptions and asked the commission to deny the application outright. Staff's recommendation is staff recommend the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving the occasional use permit under condition 19 of CUP X7D-30 with conditions. Those conditions are: 1, staff recommend conditions of approval for lighting per section 18.36.04.A.8.7.B. To keep going, of the Portola Valley Municipal Code, no lighting shall be used for night use of uncovered game courts, including tennis, paddle tennis, basketball, riding rings, and similar outdoor recreation facilities and air. Staff's second recommendation related to lighting is per section 18.36.040.A.8.7.G of the Portola Valley Municipal Code. No lighting shall be used where any permanent or temporary lighting in which any single light source exceeds 1,125 lumens. Our third recommendation is that staff recommend conditions of approval from WFPD and SMCS, the Sheriff's Department. Prior to the event, coordination with the Sheriff's Office is completed, and the Priory shall implement appropriate safety measures as required and approved by the town mayor. Fourth recommendation is staff recommend conditions of approval for WFPD SMCS coordination. Prior to the event, coordination with Woodside Fire Protection District is completed, and the Priory shall implement appropriate safety measures as required and approved by the Planning and Building Director. The fifth one is staff recommend conditions of approval for traffic and parking. Prior to the event, a traffic and parking management plan is coordinated with the appropriate agencies and the town, and the Priory shall implement the plan as required and approved by Planning and Building Director. So to repeat a little bit, staff would recommend the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving the occasional event permit under condition 19 of CUP X7D-30 with conditions. There are some alternate actions that we can also provide. You could deny the application for an occasional event permit outright. You could also continue the public hearing to request additional information or a revised application per your feedback. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions or pass it on to Patrick.
Thank you. That was excellent. Do you go by Nicholas, the whole word?
I go by Nick or Nicholas. I'll go by Nick so we don't get anyone confused.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. That was excellent. I think we'll turn next to the Priory and let them make their presentation. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Brothers. Thank you, Commissioners. Nice job, Nick. Just want to thank the town staff for all their work, especially the town attorney. Really appreciate your counsel kind of grinding through this and thinking about how this unique opportunity could happen. This request for us is really it's about joy. It's about coming together. It's about building community. And I think it's about doing something very special in our town that still respects the aspects that we all love about our town and one another. As you heard, we're applying for this single event use that really brings the town together, both middle school and high school. It's an event that's specifically geared toward students. We have a lot of amazing events in our town, and they're fantastic. Very few of them are geared directly toward students. And this would really give middle schoolers and high schoolers a chance, to be front and center and to do, again, something that is awesome and for the town to, I think, express its values in a very, very clear way. So we would, of course, have students from Corte Madera, Woodside Elm, Woodland, and Priory come together to compete. We would have our girls play flag football against another girls' school, ideally a local school. And then obviously we would have our boys' football team play as well. We would have local businesses in attendance, creating that fun and festive atmosphere. Again, bringing together business, the education community, and parents, again, all making sure that our students feel, supported. We think this is something that they would never forget. And, the opportunity to compete in that way, with your classmates in front of your town, whether you're 10 years old or 18 years old, it really is transformative. And I think it's one of those things that makes Portola Valley such a special place. This is not about Friday Night Lights. This is not about creating a precedent. And this is not about creating night lights continually on Fridays, or any other time, in our, for our school. We understand the noise and the lighting and the traffic are concerns, especially the lighting. And that's why I think we've really worked hard to engage Musco, which is the lighting contractor, to use lighting that is sponsored by the International Dark Sky Association. I did not know there was an International Dark Sky Association. But there is, and this lighting conforms to those same protocols and principles. We do see the lighting as different than what's listed in our CUP. We fully believe and understand and would not want necessarily to put lights on our field. We look at this as not in conflict with that, because that will still maintain, that would be for us permanent lighting. This would be for less than temporary, even just simply hours of lighting. We don't think it sets a precedent, because any other application would be reviewed on its own merits. So we don't think this is precedent setting. But we would use, again, fixtures that are in compliance with the Dark Sky Association approved systems, fully shielded fixtures, warm tone lighting, lower lumens, and really working to keep the light off of the neighbors to avoid the spill. And again, we think that does allow us to continue to respect the town's dark sky values. As you heard, the lighting will be very limited. Sunset on that day is about 6:39. And then there's a period of dusk, which ends at about 8:09. So really kind of from 8:09 till about 10 o'clock is when it will be dark. The night sky will be fully out. And that's when the lights would be on. And then after that, gladly turn them off and give the sky back to the stars. Again, we think, there's a path forward here, because this is such a well-bounded, limited event. Limited hours, carefully controlled lighting, good management for sound and parking, and then clear communication, working on that, obviously with neighbors before and after, and then working with town staff too. I think this is an opportunity for us to continue to strengthen the good relationship that Priory has with our town. We are so grateful to make our facilities available for use. There's an art show actually that's going to be on campus in a couple weeks, which is a town art show. Many people have used our facilities, whether it's our Performing Arts Center or our athletic facilities, and we love that, and we love showcasing what we have. This would be an opportunity to further engage the town and allow them to see what is happening at Priory. Obviously, this group knows very well. We have a new athletic center that is coming to completion. That would be open, and it would be a chance to allow people to walk through that and again see what's happening on our campus, to really try and develop more and stronger and better relationships with the town. That's why we're asking you to see a path on how we can do this, again, in a very limited way. We recognize and respect fully the town's stance on this and understand it. And we also hope and think, there could be a way for us to find a creative way to allow this to happen. This does not certainly alter our, long-term plans with our facility. We think it's balanced and reasonable. We think it allows for a community event, which is incredibly unique and memorable, but also respects the values of our town. And we just hope that the council can approve this proposal as we've proposed it, with certain conditions that certainly preserve the values that we all hold as so important. Grateful for your time on this, grateful for your feedback and your thoughts, and really appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. Commissioners, I think we should ask questions now. Since you're on my right, I'll start with you. Before you got here, I said we'd endeavor to keep our questions as close to yes, no, or simple answers, and anything that involves more debate, we will put to discussion after we've had our questions and public input. Sorry, I said that before you got here. It's yours.
I liked it better when you said I was right. So safe, right. If I could ask the town attorney for a moment. And Nicholas's nice presentation. Patrick, thank you very much. everybody loves the Priory and we're all for joy. Uh, Counselor, so do we have a conflict, a direct conflict with the lighting ordinance and the proposal to have the 4 light stands as proposed now in the application before us?
Yes, and that was covered in the presentation. Staff has identified conflicts with both the town municipal code and specifically the lumen maximum threshold, as well as the existing CUP's restriction on night lighting on athletic fields.
But in the
But-
code per se, it's the lumens.
So in deference to Nicholas, excuse me, to Nick, you concur with the conclusion that there's a direct conflict?
Yes, I worked with staff on the recommendation and that was our determination.
Can you refresh us, as I don't think it was included in the staff report, what findings we need to make?
Yeah, so this is, as far as I know, the first time the commission has received an application for an occasional event permit. The existing CUP provides for an application pathway and planning commission consideration of it. Unfortunately, the CUP is silent on what findings specifically need to be made. So there is some discretion here, but our recommendation as staff is that the commission would need to find that the application for the occasional event is consistent with the existing CUP. And then actually, as you also heard, it would also need to be consistent with the municipal code. That's sort of a matter of law. It's not expressly stated in the materials before you, but any sort of use permit must, as a matter of law, be consistent with muni code and general plan.
So the municipal code provides an exemption or provides an exception for noise, for example, for events that fall within a CUP. And it provides an express exemption. I didn't see an exemption like that for lights or lighting. Am I missing something?
No, we have not identified any exemption for lighting.
Okay. That's helpful.
Great.
If I can ask with respect to issues of noise, the CUP for the Priory under section 8A provides that there's monitoring to assure compliance, words to that effect, with the regulations for noise within the municipal code. What are those limitations? And have you confirmed that those limitations would be? That this is very, I think that it's 55 dBA with a reduction of 5 dBA. I'm wondering if I'm understanding that correctly.
Commissioner Targ, I believe it is 55. I would have to double check that unless one of my colleagues has it open in their code right now.
I think it also has a reduction of 5 dBA for speech, which would be, is there a limitation on amplified music?
Commissioner, I would have to double check that.
Is there anybody who
Good there.
can respond to amplified music? Why don't we go and move on and we'll come back to that later. What I'm trying to determine is whether this is an application that in principle that is approvable. And based on what I've heard, given the findings that need to be made and what the code says, I don't see, I'm trying to understand whether or not I can get from here to there. And presently, during discussion, headmaster, are you headmaster or head of school?
I think they use head of school now. So, you know.
Head of school. So
Patrick's fine though.
Patrick, and I'm Nicholas. And
I'll give you Nicholas tonight, sir.
right.
That help, if that helps, I'm good. So,
That just not late for dinner. I'm going, just as a heads up, I'm going to ask you whether you would want to make a modification to remove the lighting and to comply with whatever the noise ordinance would be. I'm not asking you right now, but I'd ask for you to be thinking about it. And I'm going to move on before I start argumentating. Is that the word?
I don't think I used that word, did I? Complicated. Thank you. Excellent questions. I would ask you, because I think I understand where you're going. Are there any other, you've asked 2 legal questions. Are there any factual questions underlying those that we need to look at while we're looking through? I don't think there are, but I just want to ask.
Yeah, sure. Related on the issue of noise. I didn't actually see any noise analysis in
Exactly.
And so I got there and there were some conclusory statements without a standard. I'm sorry. That I didn't see the analysis that would support a conclusion. And I also didn't see the standard that we're measuring it against. So that was hard for me. If there is analysis and if we can figure out what the standards are, that would be helpful. I'm sorry. And
That's okay.
the only other factual question I have is, are there any other events like this, both in town or at the Priory? Why don't we start with the Priory that can act as a benchmark? It's like, again, it's like, I love the idea of a football game. I totally get it. I don't know what it looks like and feels like, except for Friday night lights, and I need help.
We've obviously never had a night game. We have a homecoming game where it's one football game, and we'll have food, and our pep band will play. But that would be the couple hundred people. But that would be the probably closest event that we have. Obviously we have graduation, which is equally as exciting, but different. Maybe more exciting for some.
No doubt.
We do have days on our campus where we will have multiple sporting events. We'll have a tennis match, and then we could have a baseball game and a lacrosse game, right? They're going on similar times. Obviously, they're in different parts of our campus. We've never had anything quite like this before. I don't believe so.
And how about in the town? Does the town do anything like this?
I'm not as aware, but might look to other community members.
Well, there is a little concert tomorrow night, but there are no lights. I don't know what they do about noise. It's the summer concert series. I had the same question in my mind, and so I ran it through what I could think of. That was the only thing that I could think of. And it's put on, I believe, by the town itself, but I don't know for a fact. They've never come to us to ask for permission. But it's very early. It starts at 5:30. There are no lights. And I don't know about the noise.
The town has also accepted itself from noise standards on occasion.
It could be.
Under, under, for town events on town.
And the one thing I would say is it's here in the enclosed area between the auditorium, the library, and the main office. So I think even if you ran around with a decibel monitor, you'd probably only find it if you're out here, but I don't know. I'm only just saying that was the only thing I could think of that was comparable. And I'm going, so don't get it canceled.
No,
Okay.
me there.
Okay, awesome. I'll bring my soda water. Commissioner Batra, would you like to proceed with your questions?
Yes, several of these are technical yes, nos, so that should be quick. On the new lighting diagrams, Nick, you specified 62,000 lumens. That was for each light or 4 in total?
Commissioner, that was for each light.
Okay, so it would be 250,000 something. Is there a new load requirement for this updating lighting? It was prior listed as 40 kilowatts.
Commissioner, can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
On the old one, which I have not seen this new one, in the small print, it was listed that the load requirement was 40 kilowatts for the entire system. Do you know what the load requirement is on the new version?
Sure, I can check that for you.
Yeah,
right
you don't have to answer that right away. I'm not sure who the question is for, but public schools such as Ormondale, Corte Madera, Woodside High are not regulated by the town or city and could do lights if they chose to. How does that work? We would have no jurisdiction if.
I'll take a stab at that. School districts do have the ability themselves from local zoning requirements.
And I just like a sort of a confirmation that I found online that 75 to 85% of the public schools do have permit lighting in their main athletic fields. Does that feel a reasonable thing? It's just something to work from in my head. It's not universally accepted.
May I ask a question that follows up on your question?
Sure.
Your answer was they can exempt themselves from zoning standards.
And this
actually
is
a building standard, isn't it? A lighting standard
Yeah.
is actually a building standard.
I think it can be both. Our zoning code has restrictions on lighting, but it could also be, and I'll just say that I'm not prepared to answer this in full, but there are some nuances about the ability of school districts to exempt themselves. It depends on whether it's a school-related use, educational-related versus non-educational. There's been lots of disputes about it, and I'd have to research it further to have a fuller answer.
Just want to put it on the table more than anything else.
Sorry to interrupt, but I had the same question.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And also, can you confirm that there have been major disagreements on the installation of permit lights, both in Mountain View and even a lawsuit in Atherton? So not a unique to Portola Valley question, that lights are not universally accepted on fields. Does anybody? I found that online too. I was surprised, Atherton and Mountain View in the last.
Karen, can I ask you where these questions about other jurisdictions are going with regard to your analysis of the proposal that's on the table today? I mean, will that make a difference for you? I understand your curiosity and you always do an amazing amount of work, but since I believe we're not able to answer those questions, I'd like to
Well,
know where it goes for you.
To me, that helps to put a context for if something is 100% accepted in the world, it's a little harder for us to fight it. If it's not universally accepted, there's room for, there is substantial public debate. So
Okay,
that's why I'm
understood.
asking these
Go ahead,
questions.
then go ahead. But I just don't think anyone in the room here can answer your questions about other towns. So
Okay.
if you want to share your research with us or something like that, I understand.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Those were my 2 points. And then I have some questions for Patrick. The West Bay Athletic League has, it looks like half of your teams have stadium lights. Are you getting pressure to install them from your?
No, we're not getting any pressure from our league to install lights.
How are lights be powered?
They, each light would have, there's two options. I think the option that we would go with is each light would have its own generator. And it's called a movie set generator, which is exceptionally quiet. It means that you can speak in a normal tone right next to the generator and be heard. So the technology is very good. So we would rent 4 movie set, that's terminology, generators, for one for each stanchion.
So I'm going back to the total load requirement of this lighting. So when I look at, this is more of a non-really question, is JS data, 40 kilowatts times 3 hours would be 120 kilowatts of electricity. So it seems like a lot of electricity. Does that seem like a reasonable estimate?
It does. My kilowatt knowledge is
Okay.
not good. So
Okay. If we do not approve these lights tonight, would you still hold this event?
yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think we would have to give it some thought. We do think the lights are special, but I respect that question. But we also believe too, bringing our community together is equally as important. So we just need to figure out.
Okay.
We just need to figure that out.
Okay. How often do you plan to hold this event? Annually?
I think it depends a little bit on how it goes this time. I would not anticipate us doing it annually, even if it goes really well. It's a big investment, time and energy. But I think it would really depend on how it goes, how it goes on the 9th. I think we could all get together that next week and figure out, how it went. So.
Okay.
May I clarify something as well? So this approval is just for this one event, this one time, and any future events. So it's not to approve a recurring thing. So any future events would also have to come through the same process.
Fair, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, this is sort of a background information, not really a question, because I don't think anybody here is familiar with the concept of a boreal. So we spoke about dark sky as having the lights shining down and protecting the visual field immediately, but there's a concept of a boreal, or MPSAS, which is magnitudes per square arc second, which is more the scientific term. And this is about measuring the dark sky from other places throughout town. And I don't think our town has kind of used this kind of as an overall measure. And I can talk about more of that later during the session. So that would impact people wanting to use their telescopes, et cetera, or just impact of the light bulb, for many of us live on top of the priory and would see the impact. That's just sort of background information. I had a question for Commissioners Targ and Morse on page 38 of 8D. There was a special condition reference to additional noise monitoring by a subcommittee. I know we pointed you to that subcommittee, but did we actually ever approve additional measures?
Not yet, but soon.
Okay, so it's sort of like the horse and the cart thing. Okay, okay, because that seemed like that would be relevant. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Commissioner Morris?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. The first is an attorney question. I am not a CEQA expert at all, but I noticed there was a comment by someone in the town that talked about CEQA and referenced, I believe, that this is a first event of its kind. And I guess the question to you is, we double checked after that comment to ensure that there's no CEQA issues.
Thank you. Appreciate the question. We did look at this issue, specifically whether the CEQA exemption that relates to normal operations for facilities of public gatherings. And I won't read all the language here, but basically the idea is if there's a past history of the facility being used for a similar type of purpose, it could be found exempt under CEQA, under that referred to as class 23. And it's staff's opinion that this type of event, there is a past history of this facility being used for this type of event during the daytime. specifically the homecoming and the graduation type of events. And so that is another reason that staff felt that it would need to be conditioned to basically not use the lighting in order for that CEQA exemption to apply.
Thank you. And then I guess the second question I have is a follow-on to Karen's in that, and Patrick, I know you just answered this, but if we give approval per the staff recommendations, it kind of goes to a plan B. And so two parts of that question is would you go forward with plan B, which I think you just somewhat answered. But what would be involved if, the Priory decided they didn't want to have this on a Friday, but it was, we gave approval for a Friday, but without lights, but they want to do it on a Saturday, or they want to make some other changes. How do we square them moving forward with plan B and not having to come back here to redo this again?
That for me?
I don't know. It's for both.
I
It's
was like,
both for the town and for
I'll-
you. I know you answered plan B. You're not committing to that.
Fools rush in, so let me tell you that when we get to the point of making that decision, let's come back to your question.
Oh.
Because what we can probably do if we reach that point is continue the meeting and give Patrick sufficient time to make a decision. And that way we will have probably covered most of the issues. That would at least be an option.
Yes, I think that is definitely a route instead of trying to determine something here, unless it was, I would say, more 100% confirmation where it would be, I would say maybe a condition that would be added where it'd be, the condition would state the new date and time. But if there's, any need to confirm that, then it would be the recommendation to continue the hearing to revise the application and come back.
Okay, thanks. That's all my questions.
Okay, I have a question, first, I guess, for, Nick and maybe Sarah. The way I read this code, and counselor advises me it doesn't apply to schools. I have a school near my house, as do many of us. But when I go around town at night and occasionally catch an early airplane and have somebody driving me through town at 3 a.m., there's a lot of places in town where I see pretty bright lights. Do we have an enforcement officer, and does that enforcement officer ever go out at night and check on the compliance with our night lighting requirements? You could think of the obvious places. I go down Alpine Road, so there's country clubs, there's Rosati's. Some people might go down Portola Road.
Thank you for that question. So we do have a code enforcement officer. There are limited times. It's not a full staff position. So we do have a code enforcement officer that's here on Wednesdays and is also available to coordinate anything outside of that. We have additional inspectors that we can use for things like this as well. We have had a report similar to this. We have had a little bit of an experience of an example, and something that we ask is if someone sees something, any documentation like photos or videos of it, and then sending that to our code@portolavalley.net email. So we actually see that light. And then there's other ways to determine if that light is not compliant with the code, you can still determine that with it not being light out. But if there's other requirements of when it can be lit, then we'd have to confirm during that time. But we don't have someone that has ever consistently gone out to patrol the town for that type of requirement. So we would have to figure out maybe a potentially unique situation of setting that up, or figuring out how to document all of that and make sure that, the whole town and residences and everyone is kind of up, compliant to the requirements that are similar to what we're discussing tonight.
I'm violating my own request to my fellow commissioners. But I do like the idea of equity, and without regard to what we end up with here tonight, there's a huge amount of attention in this town to light, as evidenced by all the public comments we got. And I think it would be worth thinking about whether we want to address that going forward. That's just my personal opinion, I guess, at this point. I had a question for Patrick. If I listen to you, this thing is going to be all things to all people. A community, the football, joy for the kids. Can you tell me in a sentence a very few words, exactly what this event is. And let me say, I read your application, the parts that I have, and I did not see it. I do see it, descriptions in the staff paper. Not know where those came from. So if you could say in a sentence or two exactly what the purpose of this event is, I'd appreciate it.
This is a community event that will unite education and business and neighbors in a way that celebrates our youth and honors the parts of our town that we hold as most valuable.
We got about 20 words in there. So, okay,
One sentence, though.
understand. Yeah, it was one sentence.
Sentence.
Okay, thank you. Let me look at my other, we always, you're to provide an annual report in June. Have we gotten that report yet this year?
Sorry, not yet for this year, but that can happen. So as we know, there is some like amendments to the report for last year, and the previous report was reviewed and approved, and that was sent to Planning Commission, I think, this past January for the previous year as well.
Isn't it due, am I wrong? Is it not due in June?
I do believe we sent that report in June. I can confirm the exact time and date. That would be helpful for this body.
So this June, you believe, I mean, I know we were behind.
In June.
Okay. I was just wondering if that might have any relevance.
I do have a question.
Go right ahead.
Following up.
Go
on
right
that.
ahead.
And that is one of the things that is to be included in the annual report. And I don't doubt that you provided it. I also don't have a copy and didn't receive a copy. Is it includes the requirement that this notice be given if there are noise complaints or other complaints, and I don't have a basis for knowing that. So as a baseline, have there been noise complaints or other kinds of issues?
That was actually my next question.
Great minds, sorry.
Great minds. Yeah, I'd like to know the status of any compliance issues. I've noticed as I drive by a lot of parking in the meadow. I've noticed flags that I don't know about their consistency. And I've heard just from personal observation, apparently, as Nicholas has, of noise complaints, but I don't know if any of those have been filed with the town. So I think that's a staff question, although Patrick can operate too.
Can help answer that. So we have looked into a variety of reports that we've received, and as far as I'm aware right now, everything is compliant. So with the flags, I would call them, they're kind of flags / signs. They were kind of banner flag signs. Those were removed by the Priory. So we did have to look into that and determine if that was a violation or not. I think the preference was to have those removed. So those were removed as requested. And then the parking that you see that's happening, that is approved in a temporary parking plan because of I think the parking resurfacing that's happening on the other main lot. So there are approved additional areas on the site, and one of them is on one side of the road that leads in to the Woodside Priory. But I believe that's the parking people are referencing because it's more visible to the main road when you drive by. But that is approved to happen while there's that construction happening.
Well, when I was there was parking on both sides of Gambetta and on at least one, if not both sides of the new road through the meadow. I guess I have a related question, and this may be my own ignorance, Sarah, but when you get a call like that and you have to follow up and make a code inspection, is there a penalty? And is there a record of it? And could the public be made aware of that?
We don't publicly post every report, everything coming in. Typically, I would call it a reporting party. If someone's reporting to us and it actually is elevating to the code enforcement officer, they're going out. And then if they find a violation, then it's letting the property owner know, or I guess the violating party know. And there's a process, a series of different things that can happen where it's a courtesy notice, a notice of violation, and a final notice. So there's a couple different notices that are given. Typically, property owners are given an amount of time to correct that notice. So that's where sometimes if people report something and then immediately are noticing it's not changed, well, we have to give property owners a reasonable amount of time to make that correction unless it's an absolute emergency. So there is amount of time to make those corrections. And I would say I did send someone out today to look at the parking issue, and it also is based on that moment in time when someone goes out and looks. And if it looked correct and it looked correct today, that's what we observed today, but it might change later. And same goes with noise, where by the time, if we're sending inspector or code enforcement officer out there, it's what they're observing at that time. So we will do the best we can, but we may not be able to catch everything, especially if there's construction noise that might happen during a certain hour and it's not happening when someone else comes by.
Thank you very much. Would you like to add anything to that, Patrick?
We sent our report on June 10th.
Okay, great.
Acknowledged it on June 11th.
Yes, so we have that. So I would say we'd have to do our due diligence to review and then put that forward to Planning Commission.
The only reason I asked that was because you were here. Thank you.
And happy to answer any questions about it.
I have no further any commissioners had any additional questions you'd like to ask now? Otherwise, I will open it up to public comment.
I'd asked a question about what the noise standard is, and I'm wondering if we have any answer.
Good question.
So I'll jump in, but I actually welcome Nick to jump in as well. So the town's Muni code has actually an exemption for activities related to championship sports games, and not to exceed 3 weekends a year.
This is not that.
Okay, I wanted to check. I mean, I don't know. I did not do this analysis, so I just wanted to flag that is an exemption available. There are restrictions on musical instruments, sound amplifiers, and sounds in general. I think you asked about music. Amplified music. This does appear to cover those kinds of amplified music events.
So what about amplified music?
Well, I'll read this. This is in the prohibited sources of noise. It covers the making of any recurring and excessive sound or noise by any method so that the sound is plainly audible and a reasonable person owning, using, or occupying the property in the neighborhood is disturbed. This prohibition includes, but is not limited to, the use or operation of any musical instrument or any device, machine, apparatus, or instrument for intensification or amplification of the human voice or music. That is subsection D of 910-060.
Good.
Yeah,
I
at
think
some
your
point,
other-
we should ask whether that you'd want to update whether that has implications for the staff report.
Defer to staff on that.
Good question.
Commissioner, I would have to double check on that.
Why don't you do that, and we should be taking up enough time, and we should let people talk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
you.
yeah, if you can, let's swing back on that.
Okay, having had questions by the commissioners, I now open this up to public comment on this topic. Let's start with people in the room. I will remind you to please state your name when you get to the microphone. And I think we'll run a 3-minute clock.
Yeah, so because we have a decent amount of speakers who have signed up, we do have the comment cards that we had you fill out. I'm going to read who's going to speak and then who's on deck, so you're aware. We'll start with people that are in the room, and then we also have hands raised. So after everyone is done speaking that's here present, then we'll move to attendees that are online, just so everyone's ready. So first speaker, we have Yvette Ma, and next up, Craig Heber.
Is it on already? There's a green light. Okay. Hi, I'm Yvette Ma. I am a parent of a former student, a graduated student, and a current student at Priory, both of whom played football and my current student is one of the captains on the football team. And part of the reason, and I'm speaking in support of this, of the application, because part of the reason, or a lot of the reason we joined Priory was because of the community. And what I do with the kids and the football team is part of what I do is helping to do things outside of football that bring the community together for the games. So we do food for the kids so that the kids will come out and watch the games. We, clean up after those events. We bring the parents together. We organize things to go to away games. And it really is a very, spirited and community gathering that we enjoy. And there's other parents here who I would say also love that aspect. We played our first playoff game ever this year in Tamale. And it was a game at night under the lights. And it was really special, not just for us to be able to do that and have that experience, but if you looked at the way Tamales organized themselves, it was really just a community gathering for them. It was more than just their football team parents that came out. It was a huge, and I don't know if you know anything about Tamales, but they gather from pretty far geographically to go to Tamales High School. And it really brought their community together as well as welcoming us into it. And we had quite a big group of parents go up to just experience this night game. And it was really just amazing for the kids and the parents to experience. And lastly, I'll be brief. I was a planning commissioner in Woodside for many years, but a long time ago. And so I understand the decision that you have, the considerations you have to make today and the decisions you're making. But I'm hoping that we can find a way to do this event with the night aspect of it, because it would be very special for the kids, and to have a series of games that bring together sort of the Portola Valley community, Portola Valley businesses, along with the athletic events, would just really be quite the experience for, I think, everybody. And even if it didn't, I think when you talk about setting a precedent, this could be a very positive precedent, meaning an event that really made the town and the sort of community shine as sort of one entity. Thank you.
Apologies if I mispronounce anyone's name, but please restate your name when you get up here. So we have Craig Heberer, and then on deck is Sophia Long.
Yeah, you got the pronunciation right. My name is Craig Heberer. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. You have my written comments that I sent, and thank you for taking those. A little bit of background. So I'm right across from the Priory, been there for 21 years. Certainly, Priory is a great institution. It's highly valued. I have a great working relationship with this gentleman right here, Patrick Roof. So, there's no contestation about that. What I'd like to do is give you some opinions and some comments that I haven't necessarily given you in a written form. So this is in a written form, but if we're looking at the sound levels and so forth, it's my opinion that has to be done real time and enforced real time, because you get into this time lag issue about, well, the sound has disappeared and so forth, and then I measure it. And I think the applicant should provide plans along those lines, how they would measure it and so forth. The second comment that I'd make is, so this sounds like, a really great event, but without lights, it sounds exactly like, or very much like, a homecoming event, which I don't think, anybody has any complaints about. I've actually attended it, and it's a great event. I've also attended some other sporting events at Priory. I've stepped out in the field at night and looked at two comets. So, it's a really cool place. But I don't think it needs lights for a football game. To that extent, let me make the comment that I don't know that the applicant has made a really compelling reason why it has to be done at night. Again, if you take the lights away, it collapses to a nice homecoming event, and that's cool. I think that's the extent of them. I think I have a little bit more than a minute left. So and this is actually an emotional thing, an emotional comment. It's really not analytical. And it's not meant to make anybody embarrassed or feel bad. But we worked pretty hard with Priori and the Planning Commission and the town about the CUP, which encapsulated a lot of our complaints, but not all of them. So when this idea came out about a night football game, it's like, so has anybody been listening to us? So, and that's kind of an emotional thing. It's not meant to embarrass anybody. And again, it's not analytical. I've got 20 seconds left. I think that's about it. Look at my notes for a second. And as far as bringing the community together, I actually have a little bit of a fear that this event happening at night or trying to happen at that night is actually potentially pulling the community apart. And I know that's not what Priori wants to do. So that's it, 6 seconds. Thank you so much for letting me speak and taking your time. And it's a tough question to answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sophia Long and then Caius Klein on deck.
Good evening, Planning Commission members. My name is Sophia Long, and I'm a rising sophomore at Woodside Priory and a two-way starter on the girls' varsity flag football team. On a sweltering Saturday morning last fall, the sun beat down on the turf. As the opposing team lined up, I recognized a formation they had used against us before. The ball snapped, and I reacted without thinking, racing into the backfield where I knew the ball was going. The quarterback faked one way, then turned and threw the ball straight to me. I secured the interception and sprinted the length of the field for a touchdown that helped us win the BS championship. The moment wasn't just about a touchdown. It was the result of everything football had taught me: hard work, resilience, attention to detail, and teamwork. I tell this story because unforgettable moments like that inspire people. A game under the lights would create that kind of atmosphere for our players, families, and community. I've played flag football for years, and for most of my childhood, there weren't girls' teams. I know what it's like to love a sport without seeing a clear path forward. That's why I'm committed to helping grow the game so younger girls can see what's possible and believe there's a place for them. A night game would allow all of our football programs to play on the same night. This would give our program visibility, bring more young athletes to our field, and show them that this community believes in their future. The lights wouldn't just illuminate the fields, they would help shine a light for the next generation of girls who dream of playing this game. Thank you.
Next up, we have Caius Klein, and then on deck is Judy Murphy.
Good evening. My name is Case Klein. I'm a senior at Woodside Priory, a captain of the varsity football team, and my younger sister plays on our girls' flag football team. I'm here to ask your approval for the special permit for the one-night event under temporary lights on October 9th. I've lived here my whole life and graduated from Woodside Elementary. So when I tell you that a night like this would mean everything to me, I really do mean it. Getting to play under the lights on October 9th would be so much more than another game for my team, because it will be the reward for all the years that we have spent showing up for each other and a chance to represent our school in front of the families and friends who have supported us along the whole way. And it wouldn't be just about our team, because a night like this brings together middle schoolers, high schoolers, families, and neighbors from across the town. And I can only imagine how unforgettable it would be for those younger kids to stand on that field underneath the lights the way I once looked up to the players before me. My teammates and I have dreamed about a night like this for a long time, and there was nowhere we would rather share it than right here in our hometown. So I hope you will approve this one-night event so our whole community can come together for something we will always remember. Thank you.
Next up, we have Judy Murphy and then Roberta Zarea on deck.
I'm going to ask your indulgence and say that Marianne Blunder has given me her 3 minutes. So I'm going to have 3 plus 3, and I'm going to use it to wear 2 different hats. So my first hat is I'm here on behalf of the Conservation Committee. Last night, after an interesting discussion of the pros and cons This letter was approved unanimously by the meeting of the Conservation Committee. I quote, "The Conservation Committee strongly urges the Planning Commission to include the planning staff's recommended conditions that no nighttime lighting be allowed when approving the Priory occasional event permit." I could read the reasons, but you know those, they're included in everybody's letters, all the sections, all the ordinances. Mostly I would say that there are both ordinances, there's a statement in the general plan, and their CUP itself all support the night sky. One of the ordinances, never mind the lumens and the fine details, says no lighting shall be used for night use. So that's hat number one. Hat number two is me as a resident, 36-year resident now. I think the Priory is great. I also am a neighbor. Patrick and I have talked over the years. I, in general, find it fabulous that I live near there. I enjoy it. I think they make valuable contributions to the community. This event sounds great. Lots of fun for many people. I really like the community building aspect of it. And it's a fitting celebration to the opening of their new gymnasium. But it's not essential for its grand success that there be after dark activities. It's charming. I get that it would be lovely for that group of kids to play as if they're at Friday Night Lights, but I don't see any compelling reason that it couldn't be equally wonderful if it was held in the day. So please join me and come over to the dark side.
Judy, before you leave the podium, I usually do not comment on public comments, but perhaps you could explain to me what jurisdiction the Conservation Committee has over the matter. Doesn't strike me
We have
as-
no jurisdiction. We are purely advisory.
You have what?
We have no jurisdiction. We are an advisory committee. We have jurisdiction only a tiny little thing about tree permits, but we have, we're advisory to ASCC and to the Planning Commission and to the council, and anything that falls within the habitat, animal, ecological, rural aesthetic of the town is part of our charter. And so we felt that it was well within our purview to make this request of you.
So you would include the built environment as within your purview in that regard?
There's nothing about built
Well, the
environment
light
here.
fixtures
There's the
will be
lo-
built.
Fixtures,
Okay,
they're
thank you.
temporary. It's the lighting.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. I was afraid maybe we missed something.
Up next, we have Roberta Zarea, and then on deck, Richard Merck.
Good evening, Town of Portola Valley Planning Commissioners. My name is Roberta Zare. I'm the Superintendent of Portola Valley School District. I am pleased to be here this evening to support Priory's proposal to host a special one-night community celebration this fall. As Head of School RUF stated, this event offers a valuable opportunity to bring students and children and families from Priory, Corte Madera, Woodside Elementary, Woodland, and other neighboring communities. In particular, engaging middle school students from different schools through athletics will help them form positive connections, build camaraderie, and develop a stronger sense of belonging within our community. The event will also encourage meaningful community participation by welcoming our families, neighbors, and local business into a safe and unforgettable family-centered setting. These shared experiences are increasingly important for helping our young people connect across schools and strengthening relationships in our community. I do recognize the importance of minimizing neighborhood and environmental impacts in our town, given that this is a single, carefully managed evening with temporary lighting, defined operating conditions, and a firm shut-off time. I believe approximately a few hours of lighting is a reasonable and worthwhile accommodation for the lasting benefits to our Portola Valley students and this community. I respectfully encourage you to approve this proposal and support an event that celebrates student participation, school spirit, and community connection. Thank you for your consideration and for your service.
Thank you.
Next up, Richard Merck, and then last speaker, Jason Klein.
Good evening. My name is Richard Merck. I live on Brookside Drive. I've been a resident of Portola Valley for 65 years. I served on this commission for 13 years. I was chair and senior member of the Planning Commission for 7 of those 13 years. During that time, we did a complete review of the general plan. And these issues that are being brought up tonight were very, very carefully considered at that time. And the decisions that the town came to then are the reason the town is what it is today. And I urge you not to approve this. This is a wedge driving into a crack. The Priory has built a gigantic sports facility. I ask you to compare the view from Portola Road with the renditions in the artists' renditions in the plans, and you'll see that there is quite a difference. And this facility is going to attract this kind of event. And if we don't stop it, nip it in the bud now, it's just going to come back again and again and again until we're worn down and the town loses the beauty and the everything that we have here. So that's really all I have to say. I heard the quote, "We respect the town's stance on this," and I think that quote is completely antithetical to the values of the town of Portola Valley. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Jason Klein in person. And if anyone else wants to speak that's here in person, you're welcome to fill out a comment card or come up after him after this. Then we'll move to attendees online. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jason Klein. I wasn't necessarily prepared remarks, but having sit here, I was moved because I grew up in a community where we did have Friday night lights. And there was a couple things that weren't mentioned. I don't think I have much to add versus all the great comments that were had, but I think there was a couple things that were missing that I can speak firsthand of. Clearly, this is an emotional issue for a lot of people, and I respect that. I've only been here for 26 years in the Bay Area, and I didn't grow up around here. But in a community where you have Friday night lights, it does bring some people together. And I think we're talking about one night here for a couple hours. The reason why I think it's important that it's necessary to have lights is because you can't, like, this would be any other event like homecoming otherwise, which we have. And it's a great event, but there's not a whole lot of people that can show up because there's a lot of affluent people in this area. I didn't come from an affluent background, but we had to work. We had to work till 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night. And a lot of people around here still have to work. Minorities have to work. Low-income people have to work, and they can't come to a 4 o'clock game. They can kind of come out in the community at 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. People that work in our community at the stores, if they want to be part of the community, people that serve you at Roberts or a restaurant, they can't be there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They can only come out in the evening. So what lights do in a community where we had the whole town basically come down. That's not what we're looking for here. We're talking about one night for a few hours. But it would allow people to bring together people of different classes, of different backgrounds, to share stories around the community and talk about, hey, people I would never actually meet before. And that's the benefit of doing something at night. So I don't know if there's a path here. It didn't sound like there was an exemption for lighting in the town code because people put it together a long time ago. And so maybe we'll have to continue this discussion another day, another time. But that's the reason why I think some people are really passionate about having one night where you can kind of bring the community together and to meet people of different backgrounds and to have a real discussion. So we're not just all in our partition views. We don't actually get to connect. I'd love to have some of these conversations. I'd love to make those connections. We don't necessarily have that in our day to day. And so being together at a night, that'll allow us to do it. So I hope there's a way to do it, but if there's not an exemption here, maybe we need to have another discussion another day to create an exemption for this type of thing. Thank you.
Are there any more persons in the room want to comment? If not, Sarah will go online.
Right. So if you're online and would like to comment, please raise your hand. I already see a few raised hands and I'm going to call them in no particular order. I see David Cardinal and I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself and speak.
Oh, great. Thank you. I guess David Cardinal, as we know. I have an answer a couple comments and a question. Answer to Karen Vatra is that from what I can tell, it'd be about $500 to $1,000 worth of electricity generated by portable diesel generators. That's the only way you can mute the noise. Their sound would be kind of similar to a whole home generator. I mean, this whole you can whisper near them, that's not true. They put the generators pretty far from where the actors are mumbling, but all the generators would be pretty far from the street and from other houses, so I'm not sure that matters. A comment and a half. Based on the remarks, this one-time event thing doesn't ring true because we're hearing that this is amazing for the people on the football team. And I agree. And we might as well bite the bullet. Maybe we should approve it or not approve it annually versus a celebration. And I honestly don't have an opinion on the whole thing. I'm kind of torn. I'm just trying to point out facts. And as far as the Friday Night Lights, I think that's kind of disingenuous is the wrong word, but those are public high schools or maybe very large private high schools where a huge portion of the town is invested. And this isn't it. I mean, if it's a game at maybe Woodside High School or MA, I'm not against it. I'm just saying I don't think a game at the Priory is going to reignite Friday Night Lights. And maybe most importantly, I do have a question. There have been a lot of comments that have been made about this, and I can't find them online. They're not in the packet. They're not in the website for the event. Are they published anywhere? Or I know the staff report mentioned them, but I can't find them. So it'd be great to know where they are. And I don't know. I'm fine with the event, but just want to make sure all the facts are on the table. Thank you.
Next up, we'll go to what's called Zoom user, and then on deck is Karen Askies. So Zoom user, if you can also say your name.
Can you hear me? It's Dana Breen.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, PC and Priory gang. I wanted to come in tonight, but I unfortunately took a tumble this afternoon, so I'm hobbling worse than ever. I am now the current chair of ASCC, but I was not chair at the time of the Priory Gym review. And my comments this evening do not speak for any other ASCC members. I presume you have PC people have reviewed the minutes of those meetings. The town commission work is about serving the residents and the general plan. I have also never formed a conclusion of any kind until I hear from all the parties. We are a different town. We have a different ethos from other places. I believe it is loved and appreciated by all the residents. The Priory is also in the Portola Scenic Corridor, which is why there was great attention and study for the design for this new gym. The town of Portola Valley ASCC studied the designs for this gym wholeheartedly. The ASCC has tremendous institutional knowledge. We understand water issues, grades, geology, potential noise issues because of the valley between the Portola Green Circle and the Priory Field. My house is across the street from the Corte Madera School, and I can hear a regular conversation more than 100 yards away because of the grades. Because the town does celebrate the Priory, we listened closely and also understood by approving this gym with a higher roof so athletes could serve the ball high in volleyball, it was very important to them. We also wanted to help because building the gym at the front of the campus was probably going to save the Priory probably millions of dollars rather than on Georgia Lane back part of the campus. ASCC's understood the issues and ultimately approved the gym. I caught holy hell from many people in the community who were disappointed that this approval was a deep departure from the rural ethos of the town. ASCC also listened and worked closely with concerned neighbors, and in so doing, I ostensibly promised the Portola Green Circle, Corte Madera, and other streets on that side of the valley. I said there would be no light and no sound. And I also asked for an acoustical study because of the small valley between them. And I don't know what happened to that study, if it ever happened. I thought it was agreed upon. I think the ASCC approval of the gym, the massive financial saving to the Priory, was a gift in a way from our town. Yes, we support you and the school in our community, but the residents come first in my book, and it is my job to hear them and act. Most of the students of the Priory are not residents. So I would like the Priory to hold their event earlier in the day, and I hope it's fabulous. I bet a lot of the neighbors will be cheering, as will I. But now, no lights, no speakers. Thank you.
Next up, we have Karen Askey, and I will allow you to unmute yourself and speak.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, it's Karen Askey. And first I want to answer David Cardinal's question because I had the same problem. It turns out that the public comments are in the Planning Commission section of the website. They're not on the, where they usually are off of the calendar. So hopefully you can find them there, and for the rest of the public as well. The other thing is, I want to say I did submit written comments into the Planning Commission. I hope you've had the time to read them. This ties to a question, I don't believe if it was from Nicholas or Linda, about other events that we have like this, or what things have been like it. And I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that our town picnic and Zots to Tots run is coming up on Saturday, September 19th. And that is a huge community event welcoming everybody of all ages with, lots of fun for all, trying to tie us all together. And Linda, you mentioned the music concerts, but there's also PV Palooza that I believe is on August 29th. Again, these are town committees that are putting together these events to bring community, young, old, students. We have teachers in the dunk tank. So, I don't want you to forget about that we are doing these things, and they are on Saturdays. And one question I have is, why can't the Priory do this on a Saturday? And like they said, their homecoming event is, and it would be a wonderful event. Next question I have is, it talks about 294 parking spots, but I'm just wondering what the total anticipated number of attendees might be for this event. Somehow I think it's got to be more than 294 if you're planning on that for parking. And I think everybody's had very thoughtful comments. I like the Priory, but I love this town and I love what we stand for, and we need to adhere to the general plan and our codes and ordinances. Thank you.
Any other online commenters, Sarah?
I don't see any other hands raised online, and so I believe we're at the end of public comment.
Okay, thank you everybody for your comments online and in person, and commissioners for your attention. I think I will start the discussion, put myself out here, and feel free to come back
Apologies.
as you see fit.
May I interrupt? I do see one more hand. Christy C., if that's okay to take one more comment, or
Okay, one more comment after that incredible introduction to my own speech.
so sorry. Christy C., I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself and speak.
The chair.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I would like to also say I'd like to see our town adhere to the plan and ordinances. I think a Saturday noon event would still allow people to come together during their time off on the weekends. I also wanted to comment that In the past, in the past study, it said the traffic study indicates that the new road connecting the center of the campus will accommodate the traffic queue associated with student drop-off and pickup, will not lead out to Portola Road. And that's page 32, paragraph 3. So one time when I was going to Windy Hill, I almost slammed into cars that were parked, turning right, going into Gambetta, because there is a turn there. So if you're coming from Alpine and Portola Road and cars are stopped to turn right, as I rounded the blind corner on Portola Road, I wasn't expecting parked cars there. So I think maybe this area needs a traffic study again to fully assess the impacts on Portola Road. And this issue occurred on a Tuesday, regular student drop-off. So adding cars for a special event could increase this existing traffic problem. And I hope you take the time to study it. Thank you.
And one more time, any more public comment? Public comment is closed. As I was saying, first of all, I really appreciate the students who spoke here, in particular, the young woman who plays flag football. I'll put my arm up against your interceptions any day, but I didn't get to play flag football until I was at college at Berkeley. So I am delighted to have you students here. And I don't want what happens tonight to lessen your enthusiasm for public participation. But the situation that we're in here, and I'll get into this in more detail, is we have to follow the rules, just like you have to follow the rules when you play football. You didn't go offside to get that interception. You knew enough to be strategic to play that properly. And the other young man who spoke, I don't know what position you played, but you have to follow rules. And quite frankly, it was the rules I learned as an athlete that led me to a career in the law and led me to this position. So I want to thank you specifically for your comments. Secondly, I want to move on. Dana reminds me, I spent a number of hours, both last year or the year before, when we approved the gym, and I went back and I read and listened to the tapes of all the ASCC discussions on the gym. And I think noise and lighting are just the two things that are the touchstone in this town. And I can't even come close to reiterating, saying it as well as Dana said it. But I think in particular, we have this very strong rule. And the gentleman whose name I didn't get previously on the Planning Commission sort of reiterated that. So I want to talk about two things related to that. First of all, we have a rule and it has no exceptions. And Patrick, I ask you to try to give me a key description of what this is about. And what I heard was about 8 or 10 different things. So to me, you have so many purposes that I can't even, if I wanted to make an exception, I can't even articulate where and how I would make an exception. I might make an exception, God help me, I'm not very religious. If the Pope died and he wanted to have his funeral here or something, you know, those are once in a century events. A football game happens every week. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit and then lay out where I am. One thing that the law does, and I won't belabor this, but it gives you a phenomenal set of standards and phenomenal sort of gradation of standards and values to apply when you have to solve a problem. So like I heard comments tonight about, well, this would be reasonable, or it seems like it's a good idea. There are certain standards and certain tests you apply when something is a reasonableness test. And Catherine can say this, I'm sure, better than I can. But, you know, sometimes something's just so completely unreasonable, it doesn't even get on the table. And then somebody's reasonable, but it's not good. And so you have this whole list of standards. I'm always reminded, I was joking with Catherine before we started this, that in 1971, it was illegal for women to work in bars in California. And there was a case that went to the California Supreme Court called Sailor Inn. And it was the state beverage board that outlawed women. And the Sailor Inn was this little dive up in Bodega Bay. I'd actually been there. I didn't drink there. I was too young. But anyway, the court found that this was the kind of situation that called for what we call strict scrutiny. There's sex discrimination. That's just so much worse than any other kind of discrimination. Nowadays, we sort of take it for granted that there's equality, but in 1971, it wasn't so clear. And the court said that in this circumstance, where we have the need for this strict scrutiny, and lawyers will know that I'm mixing constitutional law with civil law and everything else, we have to have a compelling reason. And the reason I'm telling you this, Patrick, is I don't have a compelling reason, especially when I have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different reasons to make an exception to a law. Now, having said that, I think we go to Nicholas's introductory point, which we don't have the power in this law to make an exception for your lights. No matter how you might call them reasonable, or somebody might call them excellent. And so I at least will lay out that's where I am on this discussion. And I don't think I need to go any further. I guess what I will say, just to close the book on that, is I'm sympathetic to the point about people who have to work late and can't get to an event on Friday night. But other people like me don't like to go out after dark at night. So if you held this event on a Saturday, I would be 100 times more likely to come. Also because I'd ride my bicycle and I don't have enough lights to ride my bike at night. And so, I think there's just so much contradictory in your discussion of what is and isn't reasonable. And I can't find that kernel that makes me even want to try to dig through to find a way to make an exception to something that doesn't have an exception in it. So for what it's worth, that's where I am. And I will, there's no question to ask you. That's just sort of my observation. You're certainly welcome to respond, but I'll let the other commissioners go forth as they see fit. Nicholas, would you like to proceed?
Yeah. I got the staff report and I looked at it and I said, that's kind of interesting. I can understand why Priory might want to do this, how it could be beneficial to the town. I also said, this is not a close call. It's like the lighting ordinance, the CUP, say that you can't do it. And maybe the answer is that we should change the CUP and we should change the town ordinance. And that's a conversation that can be had, but not by us. And we can't do it as a one-off just because this is a good idea or that we care deeply about the Priory. I just want to call out the students who spoke and how compelling they were. But notwithstanding, it's like, it's not it's like the basic finding that you need to make as a commissioner or as a member of public body is it compliant with the law? And if you can't get there, then you can't begin to think about what discretion you might want to exercise to allow or disallow or condition a particular activity. So I got this and I said, why am I here? I can't approve this. I don't have an approvable application in front of me. And I think the town went some measure. It's like, well, yeah, we'll rewrite the application and rewrite the project that's being under consideration, which is, what the town did, which I think is generous, but it's not the Priory's application. And I go back to the first question, Patrick, that I asked of you. And it's like if I can't figure out how in principle I can give you what you want, do you want what the town has approved? And then I go to another layer. It's like, what do I do about the noise ordinance? Do I have a conflict with the noise ordinance? I don't know. Maybe. Do I have a study? Do I have anything that informs me as to how I should think about it? And I look at it and I say, we could include in principle a bunch of conditions and kind of punt it to later on. But that's kind of that takes away the opportunity for the public to participate in decision making around an issue of noise that people care deeply about. And it's like central. We spent hours talking together about noise, and we will continue to talk about noise with respect to the athletic facility and what mitigation is right and what. But that was a big public conversation, and I don't have analysis. Public doesn't have analysis, and I'm not even sure what standard I'm supposed to apply. I think it's a 50 dB standard that I'm supposed to apply, but I think that there's also a prohibition, at least facially, with respect to music and words, which is interesting, but not consistent, I think, with what we do. So I look at that and I think I can't vote to approve the application just facially. And I'm more than ambivalent about supporting an application that doesn't have the analysis that I would want to see with respect to the issue of noise. If somebody were to say, I want to continue this meeting so we can continue talking about noise, that, I can see how to get there. But I'm a little bit at a loss as to how, in principle, I could give the priory what the priory wants and still maintain fidelity, not just with the general plan. We are not even getting there, or to the Portola Valley, no, Portola Road, Portola corridor plan. It is a scenic corridor, but it's a corridor plan. But I don't even get there because the law says that I can't approve it. So I mean, I kind of don't see this as very difficult on one level. I think it's a shame, but it's just not hard.
I hear you and completely respect that. I know in our town ordinances, there are some exceptions to the lighting, specifically holiday decorations or holiday lights, which can be up for 60 days, and then lighted signs. While this is not either one of those things, and we're not pretending to try and celebrate something on October 9th that's holiday, right? But we do think that because there are other exceptions, that perhaps this could fall as an exception. We are not trying to add permanent lighting, to our fields, exterior permanent lighting to any of our fields, and we think, again, and we don't want to, and we honor that condition in our conditional use permit. Again, we don't see this as a violation of that because we are not trying to add permanent lighting. So we read that condition as permanent. I'm sure there are other interpretations, but that's certainly how we read it. And then we do think with just the clarity about the focus of the lights and the spill, and I have not done more on the noise ordinance, so I can't speak to that. I've certainly been more focused on the light. We do believe with the lighting so focused on the field and, the lumens in the actual space, not the lumens coming from the lights, but the lumens in the actual space of the field, which would conform to what lumens are from a light standard in terms of our ordinance. And because it's just so tightly conditioned that there could be a way, through this. And I say that again with respect to the town and the town's position. So.
No, I appreciate that. And I recognize that there are exceptions, but those are exceptions that are called out. And so when you're creating a law or ordinance, you create it broadly, and then you start creating Swiss cheese. And each one of those holes has a name that's attached to them. So there could be a exception with respect to fill in the blank. But one of the, it's very rare that I find myself in a mechanical analysis, but if the language is plain, I'm simply putting balls in a cup, and I look for the one that fits this event, and it's not there. It could be there. It's one of these things. There could be an exception, just as you're saying, and but it's not there, and I definitely am not going to start reading exceptions for things that have a degree of controversy where they aren't named, where I have a general rule, actually several general rules, which are facially clear. And I can't get from here to there. I understand what you're saying. It could be, may make sense for the council to do that. We do not have that authority.
Yeah.
I think.
Patrick, I think that what you're talking about is what I would call reasonableness. And if we had an exception for reasonableness, or we had an exception for some exceptions, we could perhaps let the lights go. But we don't have the exception. That's my point with strict scrutiny. If our scrutiny was, no, you have a reasonable standard here, or we'll allow a reasonable amount of light, or we'll allow a little bit of light, then all of the points you're making go to the point of reasonableness and efforts that you've taken to minimize it. But what I think I'm saying, and I think Nicholas agrees, that we don't have an exception, period, end of story. So no matter what you do, we don't have the exception. Is that a fair way to restate what you're saying? I mean, that's what I'm saying. And that's looking at it with the strictest scrutiny that I can look at it, as I think is required for probably one of the two most important issues to the town, and that's our job.
Sure, absolutely.
But I don't want to argue with you. I'm trying to explain my point.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
So just to understand, so tell me more about reasonable. Like, just help me understand. I understand the concept
That
of
is
reasonable.
not relevant to this discussion.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's a standard that if we had a law that said, well, we do have a law that requires residents to underground the wire from their house to PG&E to their house. And the code says you can have an exception if it's impracticable or reasonable. There we have a code that allows it. Here we don't have any of that. We don't have nada, zero, nothing.
Yes,
So there are times when we have that standard, but that's not here. That's all I was trying to say. And you're trying to argue that what you're doing is so reasonable and so thoughtful, but we just don't have.
Got it.
You're talking about a room we can't go into.
What's that?
You're talking about a room that we
yeah,
can't go
yeah.
into
Fair,
because
fair.
of the law doesn't allow it.
I got it.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry about that.
So I'm sorry. Should move on.
I think that makes.
Thanks. Commissioner Vatra.
Yes. I started out at a very high level before I looked at the details of the packet, thinking, oh, well, this is, not thinking about any of the details, thinking, well, this is an event that'd be like somebody having a party next door and they're noisy and they're probably violating the noise ordinance, but you're going to let it go because they don't really annoy you. or, they're your friends and you just want to be a good neighbor and it's not a big deal. But when I start looking, unfortunately, at the details, and it kind of gets into this legal reasonability, is that that's a lot of light. And I didn't, and unfortunately, the packet was very difficult to understand. There was 5 pages that seemed very duplicative, and until I realized that was like, and as we decided here was 62,000 lumens for each of those, that's a lot. It's just not like a reasonable number. It's not like going from 1,000 to 3,000. It's an order of magnitude. That makes me very uncomfortable. And the generator thing. My neighbors have generators that go on when we have power outages, and those are noisy and they're just small home generators. And so I just, not having that information in the packet, how much that noise would generate, which gets into also the question of, what are our noise standards with the Priory, and they haven't been worked on completely, makes me really uncomfortable. So part of me wants to go, yeah, let's have this event, because I do want to support people having fun and bringing a community together, but I don't really see this as that unique that it couldn't happen on another day. And then I also don't feel I even have the power that if I was totally pro good time, that I could even do it as a commissioner. I think that's all and even, I wanted to make a small point because I know some of Karen Askey's on here, but I think the generators at the town picnic are obnoxious and they're loud. And that's just another, because I've tried to play pickleball nearby them and they are loud. So generators are something we need to think about. And also the dark sky, I do want to see if the town can explore the whole Bortle concept. I don't know, that's another thing. It's not just the immediate area and how it impacts the street and the street lights, but it impacts people that are, trying to enjoy the overall ambience or just looking at that light as they drive by, which would be really bright and different. So I unfortunately can't support this.
Can I build on just on the generator issue? Patrick, the generators I don't know what a moving generator is, but yeah, but I can say that when the Neely CUP came, the generators were a big issue, and we ended up, I think it's now Mayor Craig, ended up working with the Neelys to identify where specifically the generators would be and how exactly the noise was going to be baffled. It's like my recollection is involved some number of hay bales located in some corner that allowed for sufficient air to be circulated. But we heard a fair amount about generators, and I just want to make clear that it's not Priory generators that people are concerned about, but Craig spent considerable time thinking about where specifically and how best to approach the issue. And it may be that stage movie generators are special, but I don't know from those. Anyway, but I'm sorry. Thank you.
Commissioner Morse, would you like to comment on all of this?
Sure. I'm in support of the recommendation by the town staff for all the reasons, talked about before. No lighting, make sure we control the sound, that we do, have a great event. I commend the Priory for the idea of this event, and hopefully they will go ahead we will approve that, and they will go ahead with Plan B, whatever that is during the daytime. I think there is a need actually for the Priory and for the town to become closer and to reach out to one another and have an event like this. I had 2 kids that graduated from the Priory. I live the closest house to the playground of Corte Madera. So I know what noise is every single day. 200 screaming kids in a construction project. So and at the end of the day, it's worth it. You hear the kids, you hear the people having a great time. I don't have tons of sympathy for neighbors that for a one-time event that is going to bring a lot of different people together that wouldn't be together. We can all, have a little bit of noise. It doesn't really hurt us that much, especially during the daytime. So I'm in support of what the staff laid out here.
I think I'm hearing that we're all against the lighting, which is as recommended by the staff. Are we otherwise finding the proposal from staff acceptable? I hear that Doug is. I have some reservations about the noise. And I don't know about, I believe you have a proposal to deal with that. So I'm trying to figure out if we have consensus on the staff proposal or not. Before you answer my question, let's see if there's any related questions, Nick. Yeah.
Respectfully, it's not the staff's project. It's the Priory's project.
Exactly.
And I don't know what you want to do. And we can vote on something and it may work, it may not work. We can continue, or you may say, you guys are in and way about this. And we'll come back at a later point after we've worked it out. But I don't, this is your thing. What do you want to do?
So the option, so what I hear you say is the option would be to have to approve the event without the lights, but to approve the event I don't think we could do an event like this on October 9th. So I don't think a Friday it could work for 3 games because, it really, sun does begin to go down at 6:39 and it would just be too hard. We do like our kids to go to full days of school, right? So they don't get out till, 3 o'clock. So it would just be too hard to kind of get things rolling and have all 3 games and whatever. So, it's October. So we could not approve that event on October 9th. So that would not be that wouldn't work. Because we couldn't do 3 games. So the only other option would be October 10th. And I don't know if the schedule would allow for that. We would have to obviously check with the other participants to see if the 10th, would even be a possibility. So I guess I'm saying, I guess we would like, if we, and then I guess the other question would be, is if it were approved and we decided not to do it, does that in some way hurt anything or anyone?
Well, the option on the table right now is we approve that date with no lights. Or I guess you could take a sense of the board that we want no lights. And I'm going to ask council, I guess we could continue this if you wanted to come up with another date that had no lights, then whatever other remaining issues we could address. But I think we could continue it to give you more time for that. I want to also ask council, I want to capture this discussion. So I wonder if I need a motion to capture this discussion as well.
If the commission desires to continue the item, it would need to decide on a date certain, presumably 2 weeks from today, or your next meeting after that, and then actually provide some direction to the applicant in terms of what any additional information or a revised proposal that it could consider at that continued meeting.
Thank you. So we have the option if you want to have more time. I think I could entertain a motion from a member to capture the essence of this discussion, notwithstanding the date. And then that would be the framework under which you would have to come forth with another proposal. The primary aspect of which is no lights. So I think we're close to unanimous on no lights. I think we like you. We like to support you, you know, but we can't make that decision for you, as Nicholas points out. So the option we have is to capture this discussion with some motion here and then continue this to allow you time to get another date. Presumably what you would come up with would be virtually the same as this, so we don't have to rewrite everything and God knows everything under the sun. That wouldn't make us happy, but you would have that option, I guess, at least around the pieces, around the edges. So
I don't think anything would change if we went ahead with another.
Okay.
I think it would be the same, just unfortunately.
Just no lights.
You know.
I appreciate hearing that.
If you want my vote, I need analysis and I need a standard for noise.
And noise.
Because I don't know what I look at and
Okay.
and
Yeah.
somebody has to help me be smarter on that because they don't know. And the answer may be, this is just like everything else and here's the standard. You're done, Nicholas, and that's cool. But somebody has to get me from here to there.
Nick has something to say.
Yeah, Commissioner Targ, we looked up the question that you had. I appreciate the question. What you were referring to is in table 9.10-1, non-transportation related generated noise standards.
Right.
The decibel limit for a school, daytime 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. is 55. There are a couple conditions here. Each of the noise levels specified above shall be lowered by 5 decibel. For tonal noises characterized by a whine, screech, or hum, noises consisting primarily of speech or music or recurring impulsive noises. And then there's a second condition here. The threshold for speech interference outdoors are about 45 dBA if the noise is steady and above 55 dBA. If the noise is fluctuating, outdoors the thresholds are about 15 dBA higher, steady noise of sufficient intensity above 35 dBA, and fluctuating noise levels above 45 dB have been shown in effect sleep.
I got there too, and so what's the standard?
So
somebody, you have to chew this for me. I read that and it says very interesting. I need some help. This, I mean, every law all day long.
I need time for that too.
And I need somebody to explain to me what, I mean, maybe you've got it next, so it's like, it means this, but I read that and I don't understand whether it's 15 or 35 or 50. I'm pretty sure it's not 55. And then also note that the receptor is the point at which is the entity that you're protecting rather than the generator. So that table is, I think you get to the same point, but I think it's actually residential that you're protecting. But somebody.
Could we capture this in a motion that,
So my motion would be to deny the application with an invitation with the invitation to how do I continue it at the same time? Because we can actually make a determination here and we can continue it as well.
I am not familiar with that procedure. Normally it would just be either or, either a denial or a continue.
That way, I mean, we can't accept the application right now. Facially. And
why not?
Because it has, the application as it is includes lighting, and the Priory has not said that they want to strike the lighting provision right now. And I don't have anything in front of me except for this application. And in principle, we could just continue. But if you want to make sure that we know where we are, we can do that by making a, oh,
You feel like the Priory has to agree to remove the lighting? You
It's
don't
not-
feel
it's-
like that's a condition we can impose?
definitely not. It's fundamental to the application.
Okay,
The date changes, everything changes. We've heard that from the Priory.
Okay.
That's the town's application, not the Priory's application.
okay.
So
Okay.
it's like, so we could do that, or we could simply say this is too hard and we've got a record,
Yeah.
including what I just said. And continue the meeting to a subsequent date with advice from the commission. And we could do that, but we won't actually, we won't have decided it. I'm not sure that it captures it in the way that you're looking for.
Well, we've captured a whole lot in the discussion. So Patrick, what we're saying is if you want to do this activity, Nicholas feels like we need a new application. I don't disagree, that does not include lighting. And we need a precise date. And then he needs some additional information about noise. And with those conditions, which hopefully somehow or other we can capture in a motion, we can, I believe, continue this matter to give you time to get back to us. I would recommend that we do it just for 2 weeks, because all you have to do is really, excuse me, I don't want to say it that way. For our purposes, there's not a lot that you have to do. Just remove the lights and solve the noise problem. For your purposes, you may need longer, but Catherine says we need a date specific.
For a continuous, this will just save money, honestly, to renotice the meeting if you continue it to a date certain. I did want to give Sarah an opportunity. It looks like you wanted to, I don't know if you wanted to say.
I mean, yeah, I just want to clarify how I understand it. Taking action or continuing, and continuing, as I hear it, is that staff can do additional analysis and make sure that there's clear documentation about issues that have been brought up related to noise, and make sure that that is included in the packet. And if there's other revisions, additional materials, we can work with the applicant to make sure that the packet is updated to address what we've heard tonight. But what I just want to be clear that for sure the staff analysis will be focused on noise, and that there's a specific request. I would say that the application be updated to incorporate the conditions that we were talking about, which would be removing the lighting. So I would say the updated application would then not have those as conditions. So that's what I would look to do to help with the revision of the application and packet.
I think that captures the position of the commission. I see Karen nodding, Doug?
I guess I just asked Catherine if you're in agreement with Nicholas. I mean, I feel like we have approved many things with the conditions attached to them. And here we're saying that, no, we have to go back and redo the application. It seems inconsistent with how we've acted on other things. And so more for I'm not sure it really matters in this case, but I guess I'd like your opinion, because I think it is how we've moved forward in the past.
I think perhaps the commissioner is responding to the applicant and not having a clear message from the applicant whether they would want to move forward with the project without the lighting. I think that might be one of the distinctions. Yes, the commission has the authority to condition its approval. I think the open question was whether this project would go forward with that condition.
But that happens with many different things, right?
Right, but I think we've heard
that's
from the applicant that they don't have a date. They're not sure whether, this event could happen.
Okay.
during the day. So I think that might be the difference.
That's good. Yeah. Do we need a motion to continue this, Counselor?
Let me also point out that the Priory might want to have a vote on this and to seek a higher body, which is also entirely fair and within the Priory's absolute discretion, and nobody will think any less or be unhappy with the Priory if that's what the Priory would rather have.
It would be a rather than a continuation, right?
That would be we think you're wrong. And we want to go and talk to your boss and see if we can see if there's a different decision. And that's always okay.
God help you.
And so I just wanted to point out that you do have another option, and that's fine. And it's one of these things where ultimately council gets to make council's decisions, and sometimes they make it on their own motion. They pick it up and say, yeah, thanks very much, you whiffed. And sometimes an applicant will bring it up and say, we'd like you to reconsider, and that's also fine. So.
Okay, let's wrap this up because I think we're going around in unlit circles. Would you like a continuance? We will grant you a we will do what we need to do to grant you a continuance. And we'd like to know how long. And I guess that would be premised on the fact that you might still go forward with some version of this. Or like Nicholas says, you can ask us to vote on this, although it's pretty clear which way we're going to go. And then you're going to have that record that if you did decide to take it somewhere, you'd have to find someone who's wiser than the four of us.
A lot of wisdom, of course, in this room. If we went with the continuance, if we were granted a continuance and for some reason we decided in the next less than 2 weeks that we would not proceed, is there an issue there? Or
no, not at all. We'll continue the matter, and as you decide, we will then make the paperwork follow. And no hard feelings at all. I mean, so I just want to make it clear. I want to make it clear we're trying to accommodate this. Trying to accommodate you. If you can't do it, if you don't want to do it, you can't find a date, we'll be as flexible as we can. And if you mean more than 2 weeks, we'll be as flexible as we can on that as well. That's what I'm trying to say.
Respectfully request the continuance 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just want to clarify, so the next meeting is August 19th, and then the one after that is September 2nd. But we say it's 2 weeks, but all the materials would be due next Tuesday or Wednesday, probably next Tuesday. So consider that with timing of everything that we need to update, because we need it in advance to post the packet. And
we need a date certain for our records. So can you make the deadlines to get it on our August 19th meeting?
We will try.
I'll take that as a yes. Okay, we'll continue this matter to August 19th.
You do need to take ask for a motion.
Oh, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue this to
I'll
August
second.
19th.
Thank you, guys, bailing me out. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you all very much. Government in action. We'll move on to our next agenda item, which is consider appointment of a planning commission ad hoc subcommittee to prepare a draft policy on undergrounding the PG&E drop lines. This may sound familiar, but I will let Shara explain to you that this is management procedure.
I thank you for that. There's no formal presentation. There was a very short staff report. This agenda item is really just doing our due diligence and making sure we're kind of following Brown Act policies and being consistent. So as I'm aware and what the staff report called out, there had previously been a subcommittee created, but given the time that's passed and needing to make sure that this is still a priority and having a clear task at hand, we thought it best to go ahead and formalize the subcommittee again and then sort of reissue the task and move forward with that. So that was outlined in the staff report. So really it's just voting on the subcommittee and confirming those members.
And Karen and I have already planned a meeting for next week. If there's any discussion of this or if anybody wants to join us, let us know. Do you need a vote on this? Yes.
Yes,
okay.
and if this is an item to also take public comment, I do see a hand raised.
Oh, okay. Oh, good thinking. That'll, any public comment on this side? Well, let me see. First of all, is there any commissioners who want to make a comment on this? No? Okay. Any public comment on this matter?
So I see Rita Coombs' hand raised, and I'm going to allow you to talk.
Hi, thank you for taking my comment on this. You know, the town already has a ordinance or something on this particular item that it's clear that the town has spent money and time in the past and sees this as a very serious item for undergrounding and people having to follow through. The town has also, in the past few times when people are looking for exceptions for this and saying that, you know, it costs too much money, but, you know, PG&E has said that undergrounding is the safest way to reduce fires instead of having, you know, wires over, you know, on the poles, and undergrounding is what you're supposed to do. But the town has made a huge effort to grant exceptions to residents and has attempted in the past to put together a committee to discuss this a little more while still giving exceptions to people. So I'm really glad this is revisited, but this has been going on for a couple of years. And, you know, so I'm just glad that this is being revisited. And once again, this is time and money. And even with a new subcommittee, this is time away for the members of this commission to away from your families to redo something that's already spent a lot of time and money. So I'm glad it's being readdressed, but hopefully all the notes and all the exceptions and what it means to us for fire danger will be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And yes, this is a very specific subcommittee to look at the policy under 18.036.010. I'm getting tired and I don't see my notes, where it talks about practicability and feasibility, and it will be very focused. And fire safety is one of the things that we're going to consider in the discussion of feasibility. So thank you for your comment. Any other public comment?
I don't see any other hands online.
Motion?
Motion to extend with the ad hoc committee is presently constituted.
Yeah, can we state names?
Karen Vatra, Chairman Brothers and Commissioner Vatra. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll endeavor to get back to you within a month or two. We're pretty close. Moving on to the agenda. Do I have to have any more public comment? Informational items, none scheduled, commissioner, staff, and committee reports. I think I'd like to start with the staff report, please.
Yeah, so I have a quick report out. I'll try to keep it quick at least. I'm going to share my screen really quick. So one thing I did want, let me wait for this to load.
Here.
I did want to just address some of the comments we heard about where our public comments posted. So before I go into the other report, as of right now, we'll double check to make sure we're doing everything correctly. But as of right now, if you go to the town's website under government, there's planning commission. Once you're there, there's meeting minutes and agendas. And under there on upcoming meetings, you'll have the agenda and packet. And then below that, we'll have public comments. So we're trying to make sure public comment is showed on this main page. But if you click into the planning commission event, it should also be on that event page as well, just for reference for everyone and for you all. But I want to do a quick summary just of what we're doing in planning and building and what's going on. So for my quick report out, I want to talk a little bit about our monthly reports. So we haven't talked much about it, but we are producing reports for building permits. And I will say, as part of the update, we're currently trying to get the other planning permits and review posted on the website. There are a few of the reports that are posted, but we're trying to wrap that up to get that aligned with what's posted with the building permits. So this is a snapshot of what's on our website. So in our department, the planning building department, there is a section for our monthly reports where you can find those and click on them. And as a quick summary, I did a calculation of what building permits, at least we've issued in 2026. We only have them through the end of June. We should probably getting our July report soon, but we've issued a total of 236 reports. There was a lot issued in June, partly because there was some major replacements with some buildings where it was multiple permits. And I think it might have been maybe 30 permits or a high number for one property, for example. So that's why you see the increase. And then maybe there's more work done in summer and whatnot. So we'll try to give more of a report to you guys with numbers of what's going on and then kind of ongoing permits with planning as well. So already kind of talked about this with code enforcement earlier. So this might be a little bit of repeat, but code enforcement, we do have a code compliance page, and again in the planning and building departments page. So it's at the bottom. There's information about code compliance. What is it? Where do you submit your reports? And really, we just encourage everyone to submit your reports to code@portolavalley.net. We'll be checking that email. We have a code enforcement officer that goes out typically on Wednesdays, sometimes other days, and we're trying to address things as we can. So that's a bit about code enforcement. Some updates on current projects. We're doing a lot of different things. So this is just a high level summary of what I thought was maybe more important or pressing for the Planning Commission to be aware of. So as you're aware, this has been ongoing, but we are still in this kind of active process of the housing element amendment. You guys had seen it. It had been approved by town council, sent to HCD. First time we got comments back from HCD, and then we got approval from town council to resubmit it again. That was submitted on July 16th. So we expect comments sometime in September, hopefully. And after that, in an ideal world, maybe there's no additional comments, and then we can move forward with kind of the formal adoption process with that. Safety element, I know it's been a little bit of quiet moment, but we did wrap up our public comment period in June. Still trying to work through public comments and what is the best path forward, working with consultants, budget, things like that. So we do expect to have an outline of next steps coming soon and what that process would be like and when you guys would see the safety element again. Our recommendation is, and what came out of the joint town council and planning commission meeting was that the draft would come before planning commission for a study session, town council for a study session, and then we send it to the external agencies for review. So that's why I'm still trying to map out the exact schedule and how this would work, but it's still ongoing and it's still there. So OpenGov implementation. So this is the platform we're using for our digital permitting system. This has been an ongoing project. We got town council approval sometime in the winter for budget to move forward, and we've moved forward with that. And I wanted to make sure it's not off our radar. This is one of our main projects that we're moving into that has taken a decent amount of staff time because we're trying to coordinate all of our processes and procedures and figure out how do we translate this very manual process into a digital format and then also make it good for customers on the other side as well. But with this, in summary, when we open OpenGov, it would be where applicants could submit their permit applications online. They would have a portal. They'd be able to see the steps in the process they're at, what reviews are coming up. They pay online, like everything would be much more visual instead of it sort of being a black hole. Someone emails their permit to an email address and they're not aware of what's going on with their permit, what's going on. So we hope that would cut down on a lot of questions regarding what's my permit status, what's going on. And so we're really trying to make sure that we get this right. There will be a formal launch date. We're still confirming what that would be. So I'm saying it would be in fall 2026. And with that launch, we'll coordinate with all the reviewers. We'll make sure Conservation Committee is aware and everyone else that's going to be kind of part of this process as well. So that's ongoing implementation. I just want to make you aware of. With that, though, we're also working on updating our GIS. That was sort of part of the package where if we're updating this aspect, we need to make sure we have our other information updated. And I think this is exciting because we do plan to launch a public viewer, which I anticipate would be ready about the same time that we're launching our digital permitting system as well. And so the GIS viewer would allow property owners and the community members to go online and look up a lot of the information themselves and just have much more accessible data. And then it helps us on the back end to have that data more automated when we're getting permits in to kind of get flags for certain properties and whatnot. And that's my quick update.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much. It's really nice to see that you're working on all those things and making such progress. That's staff reports, commissioner reports. Why don't we start at your end, Doug? Any commissioner report?
No commissioner report here.
Good. Karen, Commissioner Batra, turn on your mic. Okay.
Yes, I do. I did have one question for Sarah. So I thought there was a commitment that the public comments for the safety element would be published online. Is there a date, please, for that part?
Yeah, so the comments should be online. I'll see. I'll try to navigate to the webpage and maybe share my screen again.
I found them. So if I found them.
Okay, they are. online.
They,
Okay, I didn't-
as I describe it right now, it will be on the planning and building department. There is,
I looked a little while ago, so I believe you.
okay, there's a safety element section webpage, and maybe I can share my screen now. So there's a safety element webpage, and if you scroll down, there's committee and public comment section. And there's some links to the updated comments where it includes comments that have been received throughout the whole course of the project. So that's where there's multi-years, but it does end up having, June 2026 and other comments. So we'll make sure that's updated. For example, I just received an updated PDF from a committee because they went back and made sure to formally vote on what they were providing us. So I think make sure that's consistent with what's online.
Okay, so my report is something that I realized was significant enough that I thought I would just let other people know. Perhaps the community might be interested in this. I've been just doing some reading in the background about various things related to our work and also perhaps some of the town council stuff. And I just want to introduce these books. Very opinionated one way or the other. So I'm not really necessarily recommending what they're saying, but they're interesting. This one's sort of light. It's called The Wild Dark by Craig Childs. It's a new book, and that's where I got the idea of the portal, or not the idea, but he travels from Las Vegas to by bike to somewhere to get to a really dark sky. And that's just something that I thought was kind of interesting, how a different way to think of dark skies, not just panning down, but panning up. And you can find the portal of your address online. The Color of Law, which is a very old book, but it's local and about discrimination in the Bay Area, includes Ladera. The Past and Future City, which is kind of an overview of kind of planning and how to design cities, and kind of a more modern take on why young people like to live somewhere busier. So some of these are not really that super relevant to Portola Valley. And that got me into the classic, which is The Death and Life of Great American Cities, which was written over 50 years ago. And it has some really interesting gems. Some things are totally out of date about, how people shop and the moms go places. But there's some really interesting ideas in there if you're weird as I am and want to read stuff. This book I found, I surprisingly knew, is called Golden Gates, Fighting for Housing in America. And this is about housing element challenges in the Bay Area. And it's super interesting. And it goes into a case in Lafayette. So those of you housing element interest, and then historic preservation, which seems like I had a question about that. And I do have questions in my mind about our laws aren't very consistent with, this is actually a textbook I found online, aren't really that consistent with the national and statewide standards. So that's something that would be interesting for I don't know who in town to do, whether that is our committee or the council. But I did find some discrepancies that I was not that excited about. So that's just it. I just wanted to let people know, and if anybody wants to borrow my books, let me know.
Thank you. Commissioner Targ, Commissioner report,
Nothing.
Commissioner Brothers, nothing. The only thing I will say is that Karen and I will meet, and we're going to try to get that undergrounding line things done as soon as we can. Next agenda item, the minutes. You know what? I printed all this stuff and I left it in my printer. Let's start with the June 10th Planning Commission Town Council Special Meeting minutes. Anybody have any comments on those minutes? Scroll through here.
We can short circuit. I'd be happy to make a motion on all three.
Please do.
I'll make a motion to approve all 3 minutes as written.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes of June.
Wanted to know, we didn't take public comment on this item included in the minutes, and I actually did ask.
Okay, well, thank you for reminding me. Is there any public comment on the minutes? I don't think we need public comment on our staff reports, right?
I see a hand raised, so I'll let David Cardinal talk and maybe you can
Okay.
clarify what he wanted to comment on.
I'd actually like to comment on the staff reports because I think they're worth it. 2 quick comments. One is I think the GIS thing is great because right now it's very hard to tell from Google Earth or whatever what the official status is. The other is that the color of law is definitely an eye opener, and we can absolutely get, and I can find sponsors for having the author come and speak at the town center because he's pretty amazing. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We weren't sure whether that would be how exciting that would be or whatever, but there's definitely a group of us that'd be happy to sponsor that. So thanks.
Karen, would you like to work with him on that? It's
Yes,
not really a commission matter, just a personal matter.
David, can you repeat what book you were excited about?
David, which book?
Oh, the color of law.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Which came out in late 2017. So I
Yeah.
was wondering, didn't
Yeah.
use that old, but
No.
maybe that's just me. But
Okay, any further public comment?
I don't see any other hands online, so no.
Now may I approve the minutes? I have a motion carried to approve the draft minutes from the meeting on June 10th, 2026. June 17th, 2026, Planning Commission special meeting. And did I misspeak? June 17th, Planning Commission and ASCC meeting. Do I need a motion to adjourn? I move we adjourn. We voted already before we got interrupted for public comment. That old public comment. You want me to vote again? Okay, it was unanimous. Anything else? We are adjourned.